I've just clicked on the record thing, so you should get a pop-up asking for permission to record. So each person will probably have to give us that permission for them to be part of it. So welcome. How you guys been?
Good. I am really behind on my homework.
Yeah, you and me
the
both.
reason is that actually there are two reasons, and I know I'm looking for excuses, but tomorrow is the last day of the marketing seminar, and I was just trying to save things and to finish things up, so I'll have it all saved. And it turned out to be more than I expected, so I said, okay, this is the last week of it. I'll just put all my attention there, and then I have something else finishing, like work related this week. So yeah, like this weekend I told everybody not to talk to me at home, at least for like 5-6 hours. I'm gonna do and try to do all the homework for the freelance.
Welcome, Fiona.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hey, good. So in terms of the format, let me bring up our last format from last week. That seemed to work reasonably well. Are you guys happy to use the same format to run through this meeting?
As you know, I missed last week.
Yeah, I think I was the only one, other than you, that was there last week.
Right. So let me just see if I can bring it up. Just bear with me. And I'll tell you what I put together. It seemed to be reasonably well received generally. Where are we? Yeah. We were going to go around the room and each person was going to introduce himself or herself, who they help and how they help them. In other words, ideal client, ideal product, about a minute each. And then we go around the room again and the person shares what they'd like to achieve from this workshop, the Freelancers workshop. And then we go around the room again and each person shares how they can support one or more people in the group with resources or ideas. But we can roll all that into one thing for each person rather than go around the room 3 times. And the biggest challenge, and then we just open it up for discussion.
I think it's okay to go around a few times, particularly if a few people join us late. I think that's nice.
Right, yeah, that's a good point, yeah. So maybe we just go around the room first and just introduce ourselves, our business, and start there, yeah? Okay, so yeah, let's do it. So I'm Ash Roy. I'm the founder of productiveinsights.com. I'm Milen, and I help small business owners grow their businesses profitably via online coaching. What about you, John?
Pleased to meet you all. First of all, thank you for the attention. And I'm in Encinitas, California. And I'm a handyman, both high and low tech. So I do everything from clean people's sinks to high-tech robots and sonars. And so I looking forward to hearing about you guys.
Do you have a website, John, or are you offline?
Yeah, Beach Dog Inc. is our company name, Beach Dog Inc. And
Cool.
There are a couple of different websites. My wife has her own business that we run underneath one company name.
Right.
She's got a coaching business and a hotel site selection business.
Cool. Welcome.
Thank you.
Natasha.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natasha Gorodetsky. I currently live in Houston, Texas. Moved here from Israel. Lived in France, lived in Germany. Originally, I'm from Moscow, Russia. I worked in software industry all my life in product management, product marketing. Did not work in the US in the beginning because of the immigration visa restrictions. Started helping friends, basically doing favors, helping them to launch their businesses from basically ideation to MVP to sometimes really doing product marketing all the way, or product definition. Did not consider it to be a real business until I realized I have by now quite a few paid customers, and that's why I'm here trying to make it a real thing.
Cool. Welcome. Fiona.
Hi, everybody. I'm from Chicago, and I'm a consumer insights qualitative researcher I have my own business called Ready About Consumer Insights. And all the work I do is very much related to brands and branding. And I work with a lot of different clients across everything from, tech, consumer packaged goods to healthcare. So it's kind of runs the gamut.
Welcome, Fiona.
Thanks.
Milen. Oh, we just lost Milen. Maybe she got shy. I'm guessing her connection dropped out.
Yeah. Is she in Guadeloupe?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think she said a name that I don't remember. I'm a bit ignorant about these things. Yeah. So let's go around again and talk about who we help and how we help them. So John, can you describe your ideal client to us and what, as Seth would say, what change or transformation you deliver to them?
Currently, I indicated before that I was a handyman, but I want to make a transition actually into a more entrepreneurial venture. So that's actually the reason I took this course to learn. I am a well-paid person. I know I'm well compensated. I have hundreds of customers that like me. I get calls every day, even in the midst of a crisis. My ideal client in the future, though, that's what it would be, a person who wants to buy produce that that I would be part of a team that would grow hydroponically or vertically or in some other means, which I'm exploring, to grow fresh produce, and you would get it delivered to your house or you would get it delivered to your restaurant. And that's the goal, to grow good food, grow good nutritious food, and to help people enjoy life and be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So that's something you're thinking of, a business that you're thinking of creating in the future?
Yes, that's right. And I am curious about, has anyone else discovered the setting that's called, it makes you look younger?
Oh, yeah, it's called.
Yeah, it's in the settings.
It enhances appearance. I think it's just the lighting thing. It doesn't mute.
I think it was in preferences.
Yeah.
And
Another video.
Oh, so this is a real thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's in
it is.
preferences.
That's
Yeah. You're right, Fiona. It's in video, and then
So
there's
will it
something
get rid
that
of
there's a little checkbox.
Will it get rid of
That
my
says
dark
touch
circles
up my
under my
appearance.
eyes?
Did you guys all think I was 25? Actually, it's so funny. I do a lot of interviews, research interviews online, and on webcam like this. I was doing one, and this girl, I just didn't know that you could do this kind of stuff. And this girl looks so weird. She had like these huge eyes and like this teeny, she got a cartoon. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, I've never seen someone look like that. And then my friends are like, and it's a filter. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice it.
Will it get rid of my dark circles under my eyes?
It might. Give it a try.
I will.
Well, Zoom doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I think you'll need to use some other filters. But there is the touch-up thing in preferences under video.
Yeah, it's just under video. It says something like
One of my best friends and clients is an international news anchor. She used to work for the BBC, and she said to me, I should use foundation. I said, I'm not using makeup. I'm just not using makeup. And she said, well, then you just got to look like an old bag.
But you don't have to call it makeup. You could call it like stage cream or something.
Yeah,
Or
the
it's
things
a
we
feature.
do for vanity, isn't it? Well, I just turned 50, so I suppose I should just accept it.
You look good.
It's
Thank
a
you, you're very
feature.
kind.
It's not a bug. It's a feature.
I love it. I love it.
So revel in your decay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
John, I was going to ask you about your potential business. I think you always had an interest in kind of gardening and growing and things like that.
It's been a back burner.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Fiona. It's been a back burner thing that's been eating away at me for probably 40 or 50 years. And
Wow.
I grew up in an apple orchard.
Oh.
We had 60 plus trees. We had bees. We had honey. We had a market garden. We had a roadside stand. It was a gentleman's farmer type of apple orchard. It fed the family, but also, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so with this latest crisis, it only drives home the importance of what to me is fresh, fresh greens and access to good quality food, and how quickly that can go away. I mean, I just pay for it now. It's no big deal. But if things change, that can go away very rapidly, and that frightened me into having to push me to do new things. So
it's cool. I know there's a bunch of businesses like that in Chicago, and I can't remember the name of the one, but they actually have distribution in a lot of local grocery stores, but they grow it. I know some of them grow like even at the airport on top of the buildings.
Right.
But it's great. You can grow it all year round, and it's fantastic, and it's all organic.
Israel has quite a few agricultural startups, and since they're a desert, they have this whole way of growing and watering plants and whatever vegetables, whatever you decide to.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we're actually moving into the open forum discussion thing, which I'm happy to do. Maybe we should just split it then. In that case, we've got 4 people on the call, so we can just talk about John's business for the next 5 minutes or so, and then we move to Fiona, and then we move to Natasha.
And then you.
Oh yeah, sorry, and me. So we've got about 45 minutes left, so that should cut it, I think. Yeah. So John, it seems like you're quite an entrepreneur and a very driven person. You've achieved obviously a lot from what you've said, which is great. So if it were me and I was starting a business, particularly in this environment, the first thing I'd be doing is setting up an online mechanism where people can place the orders and have it delivered. I do believe that I think it was Seth I was talking to about this, or maybe it was somebody else, I can't remember. But I do believe that this is going to drive a certain paradigm shift. We are going to, like an elastic band, it's going to snap back, sure, but it's probably not going to snap back to the same place it was before. And there'll be a certain proportion of people that will go, wait a minute, this whole thing of having meetings remotely, ordering stuff online, it works. And I'm not going to go back to the way I was doing things before. And I believe that this is an opportunity. It's a, that rising tide. So I would recommend setting something up, building up a sales funnel, and get it cracking.
Thank you.
Do you have to get investors to get started, or are you kind of going to start small, or what are you going to do?
Well, I think that the way that I've had luck and I've aligned with other people who are already doing what I want to do, and so learn from them.
Great.
I happen to live 2 miles from one of the large agri-tech businesses in the Southwest. It's called Go Green Agriculture.
Oh,
So
yeah.
one idea would be to get a job with an existing company that grows hydroponically in a very mechanized fashion and understand the market better. And I had delayed doing that about 3 years ago when I moved to my current location, or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm saying to myself, boy, I wish I reached out to them sooner. But today's the time, the current time is the time to go out and reach out to existing. So my approach to business, particularly where I don't know a lot, is to join with others who already know a lot and reduce the learning curve.
Of course.
So that's just so I think that would be the number one, is to reach out to the existing purveyors of the products that I'm interested in, see what they do, get a job with them, or find a way to fit into what they're doing, and get paid for doing that, even if I'm not paid well initially.
Of course.
And then learn. And so it's a lower risk model of how do you, And then if I see an opportunity after doing that, then I can, either scale or what have you, take it in the direction I'd like to go or something like that, right? So that's, but that said, my bride is branching out. She's a very successful, my partner in Beach Dog, she's a very successful business person in her own right. And Julie has been a triathlon coach. She's a very high-end Kona level, Ironman distance level triathlete, and she's she's doing well in her coaching business. And so how to grow that is right up what you're saying, Ash, is how do you do that in an online fashion and do it with all the tools that are everything from Instagram to the various coaching sites. There's dozens and dozens of quality network-based, internet-based tools and resources, and taking advantage of those is something that's very easy to do and very fruitful.
Yeah. It's all, the sequence also matters. I've developed a 9-step business growth mind map, which my subscribers find very useful. Okay. It starts off by getting a clear clarity around your mission, then understanding your customer, creating an empathy map to really deeply understand them. Seth Godin and I talked about empathy a lot on the podcast. Yeah. Then understanding the customer's problem and how your product solves that problem. Then making a few sales one-on-one, so you understand the key trigger points and levers that facilitate the sales. Then building the automation. A lot of people build the automation too early. Right. And then building an authority tool like YouTube or podcasting or whatever it is, I mean, some of them can be done simultaneously, but to me, if you don't understand your customer and you don't create content that solves your customer's problem where they are on their journey, that's not going to cut it. So for instance, if you're manufacturing washing machines and you keep creating content about how your washing machines are the best in the world and using surgical steel, but your customer is trying to figure out the difference between a top loader and a front loader, well, your content is not going to land. You need to solve the problem, which is what's the difference between a top loader and a front loader? And when you solve that, then the customer will probably buy the washing machine from you anyway. So that deep empathy is missing, I find, in a lot of funnels, including mine, actually. I need to keep going back and fixing it.
What do you play on your guitars? What kind of doodling do you do? Noodling around.
Dylan, a little bit of Beatles. I bought that Stratocaster to learn how to play notes. I still haven't gotten around to that, but they sit there to remind me to pick them up, and I still don't pick them up every day because I don't have the time.
Well, at the end of the session, if you have time, I'll go get my guitar. You can pick up that, and we can just hum a few bars and strum.
Sounds good, man.
Can we stay and listen?
You might regret it, but yeah.
You might want to turn your volume down.
But, can you guys play or sing or something? Maybe we can do a bit of a jam. All I can play is open chords, and I have to look at a chord book. I can't even play by ear, so it's pretty sad.
I played the piano as a kid for 7 years, but I haven't played in like 20 or 30 years.
Well, I highly recommend it, Natasha, because if you can build some kind of a practice like that, it really helps the creativity.
I agree.
Yeah. It de-stresses a lot as well.
Natasha, what about you?
Yeah, let's move on to Natasha. We're at the 20-minute mark. So Natasha, who do you serve? Sorry, go ahead.
So for years, I've been this classical corporate person, loved it, didn't plan on leaving ever. And then again, the life changed and we moved here for my husband's work. For a couple of years, because again, it was like, as I've mentioned, friends offers, and most of the people that I helped were overseas, either in Israel or Europe. So I did a lot of work online actually, and I even released a course like a year and a half ago, an online course that sold pretty well on how to pitch to investors. But again, for me, it was all like, I was kind of playing with it because it was this time before I go get a job. And with the years passing, I kind of thought, what, I actually do not want to go back to corporate. And so the last 1.5, like almost 2 years, what I did, so Houston is like, I know Houston has different perceptions and different ideas that people have, including me before we moved here. But it's an interesting combination at this day and time of, I don't know what's going to happen after the quarantine, but there are enough locals and a lot of people who moved in over the last 5-7 years. So the entrepreneurial and the startup arena is really growing. A lot of companies have been opening up. And I was involved in the startup development organizations during those like almost 2 years. So I did mentorship. I started getting clients from there. It took me a while to realize that those very early stage kind of pre-seed companies, they don't have money. So you signed with them on equity-based contract, but it might not happen. So my focus is now is I do work. So my goal is I am a software development product manager. So my focus is to help tech companies and tech startups. And it's in many ways, yes, from ideation to launch, but I try to focus on companies now that have some money. So they do consider product management, product marketing as part of their portfolio, and they're ready to spend money on that. So if they need round B, round C, this is why I come, like, this is the goal. This is what I want to have more of. Again, it's kind of unclear now because a few of the prospects that I had, even in early March, it's all on hold. So I don't know what's going to happen after that. But I'm still in touch. I still do tomorrow I have, I was a mentor for some program at Foundry Institute. So we have a celebration and a graduation tomorrow with 12 people pitching. And only 2 of them getting to an MVP. But again, they're very, very early stage. So yeah, I want to have a very clear idea. Who am I aiming at? And I do have it more or less, but I really want to go through all the exercises at the course. The stuff that I did, I'm just finishing. I mentioned, Fiona, before you joined, I mentioned that this week I really haven't done any homework because I was finishing the marketing seminar. It's closing tomorrow. So it did help. And I think this workshop is going to help as well to kind of build the portfolio, start creating the brand, and really need to start writing more on LinkedIn, much more than
Natasha, have you tried
to?
Have you sorry,
yeah,
have you tried doing the morning pages, or have you heard of the morning pages?
I do free writing. I've been doing it for a couple of years, so it's like not it helps, but I was pretty miserable here because my kind of career ended abruptly. So that was the main goal. So I won't get into this rabbit hole of like being like, oh, I'm such, like, why did I move? And I always wanted to, but that's not how I wanted it. And blah, blah, blah. And now I can't work. And kind of blaming my husband in a way for that. But that's a completely different story. It has nothing to do with the workshop. So, yeah, I've been doing free writing.
Just let us know where you live and we'll come and sort them out.
Well, yeah, not yet. I think we'll see in a few meetings. But I've been doing that. But it's like, again, for me, it's kind of weird way because it's more that I stumbled upon like, oh, actually, I do have paying customers. So let's make it a business then, like the other way around when people really want to do something like that. Yeah. So that's why I'm at the stage that I'm like really taking things much more seriously and in a much more organized way.
So the biggest challenge for you right now then is to just get clear on who your ideal customer is. And so far you've kind of figured out it's someone in the round B or C stage funding.
Yeah, and from now on, but I think a lot of us in the same boat these days is where, what's the situation going to be like in a month, 3 months, 6 months? So how, because attracting, so it's not only coming with the proposition, it's also being able to attract the customer and the paying customer.
My challenge or question to you is, would it be a better idea to work with what you have in front of you right now than try to anticipate what's going to happen in 3 to 6 months, which none of us really understand? and rapidly develop some kind of a product or offer that you can ship to either this target client that serves them in some way right now. It might even be a free offer, but remember, when people, there is no such thing as free. When I create content, I always think I'm asking people to pay with attention. So they're not paying with money, but they're paying with attention. So is there a way you can capture these people's attention in a constructive way that will set you up to sell to them in the future?
So I've been thinking that I kind of feel very comfortable working online and working with people from all over the world. And I was very much focused on what's happening in Houston, a little bit Austin lately. So with the experience, because it has been like working with the startups, the questions they ask, all of that, that gives you a new perspective. So it's all very like, it's not even early stages, like really some thoughts that I've had maybe the last couple of weeks that maybe I should create an online product, taking into consideration the questions that I have, but packaging it again in
absolutely
releasing an online.
So are you familiar with the? I'm a digital marketer certified partner. I don't know if you've heard of digital marketer, but they talk about top of funnel content, middle of funnel content, and bottom of funnel content, and basically.
So for my previous online product, which was very, it wasn't expensive. It was kind of pretty simple and straightforward. But I went through Amy Porterfield's stuff and like,
I know Amy.
Took your courses. So, and again, I mean, digital marketing is very, like, it's kind of different than the real world, but a lot of the processes work the same way. I mean, you still, the way you identify your target customer, you build the buyer persona, you create the funnels. I mean, you still, B2B, you still create the funnels. They're different ones, but the whole concept is very much.
By the way, if, just as an aside, if anyone has discomfort around doing video, which I do in a major way, you might find the episode I did with Amy Porterfield to be quite useful. She talked about her anxieties about video, and I talked about mine on episode 145, so you might find that useful. I think that creating a course might be a good start, but coming back to what I was saying to you before, the top of funnel content is typically content that
freebie.
That meets the customer where they are on their journey, and a freebie, but they pay with attention, I guess. The middle of funnel content takes it a bit deeper, and the bottom of funnel content takes it a bit further still. That can still all be part of your free content offering. Different people do it different ways. But Amy's top of funnel content, for example, would be the podcast. My top of funnel content is the podcast. And the differentiator for me is I tend to feature some of the biggest names in the online space, like Seth and Amy and Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer and so on. So if you can have some kind of an angle with your free content, that allows you to build your mailing list. And then the mailing list is where you can control the conversation. But hopefully, unlike a lot of marketers, you'll choose not to spam people, like sending them 5 emails a day. I don't believe in the launch model. I find that to be a little bit too many emails. But the drip model, which Andre Chaperon talks about, is very useful. I don't know if you've heard of Andre Chaperon. He wrote Autoresponder Madness, but he uses autoresponder sequences to drip feed content to the customer or the subscriber. And depending on what links the subscriber clicks on, I don't know if Andre does this, but I talked about it in that episode, that you can tag them in the back end to indicate what topics they're interested in within your email autoresponders software. And then you can just send them that content. So they're not getting everything.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else has thoughts or suggestions on?
The conversation you just had was a little over my head, I guess, because I'm not really in that world. But if I can just ask some dumb questions. So, Natasha, is your thought of this business, it sounds like what you've been doing, is it more one-on-one consulting that you've been doing, helping these people through offerings and getting funding?
Yes, and it's also another concern of mine because it's extremely time consuming.
Right.
And it's hard to scale. And again, online feels much more scalable, and like even having like Ash has mastermind.
Yes.
So that's again something, you know, I've been just like I have like my notebook here. So I've been all this whole week, I've been like, each time I would have an idea, I would just write it down. So again, I have to, like, the program is finishing because I was helping with the pitches this whole week. I'm finishing the seminar, the marketing seminar. So, but I'm writing things down because I want to like really brainstorm that and see what direction I can go to. Because in that, you know, that's why I'm saying, you know, working with like very, very early stage startups is hard because again, you spend the same amount of time. They cannot pay you now. They kind of say equity based. Whether you get it or not is a big question. And so it's either, you know, having few customers, but you can charge them a lot.
Yeah.
Scaling it, going fully online.
I learned the hard way that your pricing is as much a function of who you target as a client as anything else.
Right. So would what you're talking about then, both of you were talking about when you're talking about sort of this funnel, is it then paid content or it's a paid course, or what is it that's actually the deliverable there?
So you start off with the free content, what digital marketer would call value and advanced content. So as an example, I'll just share my screen and show you, this is my free content. So if you go to the subscribe page on my website, you'll see this 9-page business growth mind map. So if you subscribe to, you opt into that mind map, you will then get 8 emails, which need a lot of work, by the way, sent to you via autoresponder sequence, talking about each of these 9 steps. Well, the 9th step is not really a step, it's refine and reiterate, but going through each of these 9 steps, that is what I would call value and advanced content. It's trying to deliver value, it's trying to educate the customer, and maybe every so often I'll talk about my membership program at the end in the PS section. So I'm building trust over those 8 or 9 days. And then they fall into, then when I publish a new podcast episode, I might email my entire list with a new episode. That's what you would call a broadcast email, as opposed to this, which is an autoresponder sequence. And then I can put in links within each of those emails. And if someone clicks on certain links, because it's related to, say, productivity, or it's related to, say, mindset, or it's related to, say, marketing automation, I can tag them in the back end of my software to tell me, okay, Fiona clicked on this link. It is about marketing automation. So I can then only send her content about marketing automation, and I won't bother her with mindset stuff or the productivity stuff. Or if I did it the Andre Chaperon way, I would actually explicitly say, if you would like to hear more about productivity, click here. We'll tag you and you'll hear more about productivity. If you want to unsubscribe from this stream of content, this theme, click here, we'll take you off. And we'll, you know, it adds tags and takes off tags. So that's where marketing automation allows you to be more targeted in your delivery.
I know you kind of walked me through, thank you very much, last time since I logged on at the end of the call, sort of how you monetize that, which is you've got kind of membership and this coaching. I was kind of curious, Natasha, how yours would you monetize, what the actual offering would be. Like, I get the sort of educational content. I mean, it's kind of like when you Google anything, like, how do I figure out how to do this? You'd come across potentially a bunch of websites and things like that where you could look at it. And then I guess potentially become a subscriber if you really like the person's approach. But how does that then become something that you could actually earn money from?
So,
great question.
Let's say the program that I had before that, it was for startups. So the startups that already, I didn't teach them how to, you know, to research the market, not the go-to strategy, nothing of that kind. But what I would do is, and it was a very basic product, but still, so somebody has a product. Before taking it to different investors, not only I would teach them like the how to pitch thing, it would go into what does your sales deck
Mhm.
have to have? So
Mhm.
what are the absolutely like mandatory slides? What
Mhm.
each slide have to contain, and that would be like really short videos, like 3-minute videos,
Yep.
and then I would have like an additional
Mhm.
page with like questions and exercises that they, like basically questions that they would have to fill out, but I would also talk them through that.
Okay.
So like, let's say your problem slide has to
Yeah.
absolutely include this, and that.
Yep.
But you know what, guys, you only have 10 minutes, so do not speak about,
Yep.
speak about ABC, but don't mention at this stage
Right.
those things. And then
Yep.
the solution side, and
Yep.
then the team slide.
Mhm.
So that would be mostly that. And then I had a couple of sections of like Q&A, follow-up, like elevator pitch, an introductory pitch, like which is like basically 1, maybe 2 sentences, which is even shorter than elevator pitch. So things like that, but not in general, like what is in general an elevator pitch? It would be something like for tech companies, tech startups, getting money from investors.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. And I had 3 kind of rounds of selling it, and then I stopped. I didn't like even have that much. Like I kind of felt it needed an update.
So they actually paid to participate in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually were walking them through it. They could have an actual conversation.
So what happened is it's like kind of similar to what Ash is talking about. So I went through, like, I kind of, I read a lot, and I was curious about the online world since 2008. I had, so when, like, I don't know if any of you heard, Ash definitely knows, Pat Flynn had less than 1,000 follows, and this guy, like, is this major person these days.
What's his name?
His name is Pat Flynn.
Pat Flynn, Flynn.
Okay.
So it was like, 2008, 2009 when I started following him. So it was like a long time ago. And my friend and I, when I had a full-time job in Israel, we helped like mompreneurs, really women who, wanted to cater or sell cakes or like very basic, very small things that they were trying to take online and get their following. So I was like my friend and I, we kind of had this simple website, and we were setting up their Facebook page, stuff like that. And then I kind of felt, okay, I don't know if I'm going to do this. So I had an idea of what and how. When I decided to sell the course, I did buy a program on how to do that.
Oh, I see. So you bought a program on how to sell.
How to do it, yeah.
Okay, I get it.
I just want to mention that we've got about 22 minutes left. So
sorry, yeah, I'm
that was totally fascinating. It's like this whole world I know nothing about. I mean, you hear about it all the time, but to hear both of you talking about something you're actually doing, it's really fascinating. I feel really
I'm happy to jump on a call and share more thoughts with any of you if you're interested. I think Natasha's pretty across it anyway, but if you guys want to talk about it further, I'm happy to discuss it because I've immersed myself in it for the last 7 years.
Well, you're definitely a pro. I've been like tonguing back and like, in and out kind of, and you've been consistently doing it for a long time.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yes, it's been a labor of love. Yeah. It is not easy. The online world presents itself as something very easy. At least it did to me, but it's like anything. It takes effort and consistency.
Just one thing to finish it up. Also, that's what I've noticed in the last 3 to 5 weeks, that a lot of people, I think, have decided, oh my God, now like we're stuck at home or we're losing jobs. Let's go and do this, like whatever the online thing everybody's talking about. Like I see a lot of people with offers.
Yeah.
And I think that is also something that is changing or about to change.
Yeah,
they will come and go, but the ones who really matter will stay.
Yeah, I'm sure. And especially people who have started, I think. Either people who really have a good offer or those who have been doing it for a while.
Yeah. So Fiona, do you want to talk about who you help, how you help them, and how we can help you?
Yeah, okay. My mind is sort of going back to everything you're doing. I was just going to ask 2 other questions about it. It was funny because I just read an article today in Medium about like this whole idea of people always talking about passive income and, set this website out and you'll make all this money. And I'm like, how? I don't get it, like, what do I have to sell that I'd sell online?
I'll try and build that into my piece. Hopefully
Yeah.
that will help.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, I'm in a completely different world, really, because I'm on the kind of brand marketing side of sort of consumer insights. So, I don't do quantitative research at all. I'm a qualitative practitioner. I do work with quantitative firms and, try and make, it's all about big data these days, but a lot of times big data doesn't mean a lot. It's a bunch of numbers that tell you something about a target. It doesn't necessarily tell you who they are. So a lot of my job is a lot of times taking segmentation studies or consumer profiles and like trying to bring them to life. So that involves actually talking to the people that they're profiling and really understanding them, understanding a lot of the stuff you were talking about, sort of how to appeal to them emotionally, things like that. So, but my end client typically is marketing or consumer insights research person at a big company, usually a big company, a brand. Sometimes I work with smaller startups, but to kind of Natasha's point, a lot of times it's just really not worth it because they have such small budgets and they don't know enough. So you have to do so much explaining and it's fun if you're really into their product and you think there might be a future with them. I've done a few of those and maybe like you, none of them have really led anywhere other than a kind of an interesting case study, which is fine. But, it's been sort of interesting working for them. But if you're busy with other kind of good paying things, it's kind of hard to take too much of that on, and it can be very exhausting too, but occasionally. So I think my issue is, I think a lot of what Seth was even talking about, sort of like, well, what kind of freelancer are you? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm a crafts person, which I was thinking, John, about you saying you're a handyman, because you're obviously not just a handyman, which he put as like the second level. But I'm like, well, what would it take? And of course, maybe sometimes I'm unique. Maybe sometimes I get remarkable just in terms of sort of, the quality of your work. But I don't know if I'll ever be the remarkable unless I'm very, very focused. And so I think that's part of what I'm thinking about, kind of what I really, if I even want to do that, really, really narrow in on something. But I have some early ideas and a lot of it is around that. Yeah, John. Mm-hmm.
So we'll expound on what would be one area of focus and why, or what's the value there, or blah,
yeah.
blah, blah.
So one of the things I have come across a lot, to the problem that needs to be solved, is sort of something I was just touching on. A lot of big companies spend a ton of money on quantitative segmentation studies. So they've got, whether it's B2B or consumer, they've got sort of, whether it's even a buyer persona, they've got a picture, usually a data picture of who their customer is. And often they have some sort of algorithm or typing tool to identify that person. And often I'll be hired to come in and do, let's say whatever it is, in-home interviews or webcam interviews or focus groups, whatever it is with those customers, to understand them better and paint a picture of them. What I'm finding whenever I do those is usually these typing tools and algorithms are terrible. And so I'll recruit these groups of people that are supposed to represent specific target. And then when I start talking to them, I realize they don't actually work. I did a huge one. Google had done it for a specific part of Google, obviously verbal NDA here. And it was a huge study, and they gave us these algorithms. We went out and recruited these people, and it was complete nonsense. Like, it didn't work. And even when we took the typing tool, we were like, this makes no sense at all. And so we went back to them, and we're like, this isn't really working. And they were like, well, we already spent all this money. This was a global study. It's already been, sent around the company. We're going to go back to our research, the quantitative firm that ran all the data. And then they came back and they're like, oh, well, actually, yeah, it's not really that significant. Anyway, what we ended up doing was actually taking what they had and really figuring out a better way to define this, and actually helping them redefine that typing tool and asking the right questions so that you could get it. So, and I've come across that like 2 or 3 or 4 times. And on the back end, I'm always asked to like, well, can you help us make this tool better? So I'm kind of thinking about that as a niche.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
That's a great niche.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember even, you know, and I worked for some big, like really big companies that even asked, like, in product, you really need this customer and the target customer and the buyer persona definition. And for a long time, we were using algorithms. And then we would go literally from one customer to another, trying to narrow it down or change it or redo things because it just didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And you can make it work. It just is tweaking. It's tweaking. It's understanding sort of even sometimes just how a question was asked, or, you know, is this really an important dynamic? So yeah, so that's sort of an area I'm thinking of that I think could actually be unique. And there's kind of a good target there because it could be everything from some of the really large research firms that run quant studies, who I think typically what happens on the back end is they're like, oh, well, then we're going to just do some focus groups or ethnographies with our target, and they'll just throw a bunch of slides or a little video in the back of the report that brings them to life. But it's not really addressing the fact that this didn't quite work. So it's more about that, sort of solving that problem.
Thank you.
Where do you, or how, if I may ask, do you find customers?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question for everybody, I think.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it's part of the reason why I'm doing this workshop is, you know, I've worked at I started in advertising agencies on sort of the brand side and brand strategy side. Then I worked at a huge marketing research company that started as sort of a boutique brain trust and grew really big. We got bought by Omnicom and blah, blah, blah. So after, I don't know how many years of thinking I should go out on my own, I finally did it about 5 years ago. And I honestly never sat down and was like, here's who I'm going to target, here's who I'm going to be. I just got work. And I kind of just did whatever I got. And I wrote something that was really helpful to me in that, I forget what the exercise was. It was that imposter me and real me. And I was kind of like, I'm the imposter because I keep convincing myself, oh, you know, it's okay. I always get work. I make good money every year. But every time I have a slowdown, I panic, I won't get another project, and I have never like really thought about all the stuff you guys are really smartly thinking about. So I feel like partially I've been really lucky. I also obviously have gotten a lot of referrals. I think I do really good work, but I think I've been a terrible marketer or strategic thinker about my own business. So that's
Fiona, have you used Sales Navigator on LinkedIn?
I use LinkedIn, yeah, but probably not strategically at all.
Have you used Sales Navigator on LinkedIn?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Me neither,
so
actually.
Sales Navigator is something that I think you might find useful. You can sign up for 1 month for free.
Okay.
And basically, if you want, I can do a quick demo on my screen and show you how it works.
Yeah, maybe we could do that separately. I don't want to take up these guys.
Okay.
Oh, unless it's really fast.
I think Natasha wanted to know how it worked as well. So,
but we can do that. It's like not that we have to do it now. So, you know.
Okay, well, maybe we can do it in another session. But Sales Navigator is something that allows you to pick from, what is it now, 600 million people on LinkedIn and target them based on specific attributes that the company has. So you could say, I only want to talk to people with marketing manager or XYZ title in a company that has 200 to 500 people based in Arizona or Houston or in Australia or wherever you want. And it gives you a certain number of in-mail credits. So you can email them, even if they are up to a 3rd level connection, I think, or definitely 2nd level connection. You can ask to connect with them. The key here, though, is not to obviously sell, but to adopt a diagnostic approach, which is something I learned from my wife. My wife happens to be an obstetrician and gynecologist. So I like her, you know, the doctor's approach, like, where does it hurt? What's the, you know, what are your symptoms? And then you offer treatments. And I think of my treatment or my tablets, my pills as podcast episodes or, you know, bits of content. So, hey, are you struggling with mindset? Check out episode 186, or I can't remember which one it was, with Todd Herman, who wrote the book, The Alter Ego Effect, which was very powerful for me. Are you struggling with getting referrals? Check out the episode I'm going to publish with Dean Jackson, where he talks about referrals. So, you give content that is targeted, and then you build a relationship, and then you earn the right to ask further questions, which may or may not lead to a sale.
Right.
But I like to think of it as purchase facilitation rather than sales, because everybody loves to buy, but no one wants to be sold to. So
That's true.
if you can create the conditions for a comfortable purchase, then it's more likely to be a win for both parties. And if they don't want to purchase, they probably were never going to purchase anyway.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you.
So Sales Navigator is one thing I would definitely check out. And
so it's like paid advertising?
No, it's a monthly, it's about 90 Australian dollars a month. I don't know what you pay in the US, but it just kind of hooks onto your LinkedIn account, and it basically works like a search tool, but it's very targeted search, and it allows you to send private messages, which you don't get access to in the normal LinkedIn. You get you can use LinkedIn Advanced Search to get a more a slightly better than free version in the LinkedIn Basic Search, but Sales Navigator is that on steroids. And I think it has some other benefits, including access to the LinkedIn training library thingy, and it also allows you to private message a certain number of people and so on. I did a good podcast episode with a guy called, one of the digital marketer guys, Marcus Murphy. Episode 173 and 174. I think 174 was the Sales Navigator one. So
where's the list of your podcast? Are you on like Apple Podcasts, or where do we find them?
Yeah, so you'd go to Apple, you go to iTunes and just go type in Productive Insights. Or the easiest way is if you go to productiveinsights.com. And you click on podcast over there. I've just got it up on my screen. So that's the URL there. And you click on podcast.
That's so great. You've talked to so many amazing people. It's so great.
Yeah. And these are people I admire. There's James Clear. He was fantastic. He wrote Atomic Habits.
That's a great book.
Yeah. He shared some.
I never knew how he looks. Okay.
There he is. He's 6'4".
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's a really good.
He shared some great tips
coming out of this.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm keeping a book list coming out of this workshop of all these books people are recommending.
Yeah, so the one that you might find useful is this one, Marcus. Actually, sorry, 174 was, 5 steps to optimize Sales Navigator and how to use it to develop long-term business relationships. There you go.
Perfect.
And it's got a transcript and everything in it. So
awesome. Okay.
The URL is just productiveinsights.com/174.
How long are your podcasts?
Yeah, they vary between, if it's a solo episode, 15 minutes, and if it's a conversation, it tends to go for 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes I break them up into multiple pieces because they go for so long. But we tend to go quite deep.
That's great. So, Natasha, I had a question for you. You just finished Seth's marketing workshop? Or was it a different one?
Yeah, I'm finishing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so was that really helpful for you in terms of kind of?
I think it was. I'll tell you the truth. Okay, I think it's a very good workshop, and I think like with any other workshop or a course, you have to do the work consistently.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it stops being helpful. On its own, it's a very good workshop.
Yeah.
It just depends on how well you really implement. Like you follow up, you do the work, and you implement everything.
Yeah.
And so I think I was kind of, I had my better weeks, good weeks and bad weeks, and skipped weeks, and that's why now, starting at the end of last week and this week especially, I've been like, oh my God, I don't want to lose all this stuff.
Right.
But apparently And that's a good thing to know. And I think with freelance workshop, it's the same thing. Like you can ask them to defer it and they give you another chance. Like you pay once, but then you can send them an email saying that blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. Like I kind of sent them an email that I think it was a great workshop, but I would have gained much more if I was much more consistent. And if there is any way I can repeat it or how much would it cost? And they said, okay, give you one more chance. So you pay like $1, I think. And once they open it up, so the next one I think is in September, you can kind of go over the program again. And this is what I will probably, as of now, I think I would do that, but I don't know what's going to happen in September.
Well, I think it would be worth paying the full. So far, everything that's been produced that I've participated in this freelance workshop and the story skills workshop, I would pay again fully.
Again.
Yeah.
So story skills workshop is also something that I would want to do.
Yeah, very valuable.
I think he has great programs. Seth, I mean, and in the beginning, that was so, like, that's something that I completely fell in love with, but it was really strange in the beginning. Most, people package courses and they just sell them to you and deal with, it's like, deal with it. What I really love is, because in the beginning, I opened it up the first time and it was like, looks like late 90s, early 2000s forum, like literally the way, like, how do I navigate here? But I learned,
a bit awkward.
I learned to love it. And I think the whole thing with participation and people asking you questions, it is just so great.
I would add one thing to that. To get more value out of the workshops, I recommend trying to lead, which is something Seth encourages a lot. So they invited me and everybody to create a thread. I just created this one.
I want to thank you, by the way, Ash. That was
welcome.
You're getting out there out front and putting what you put out there. That very first email, that was great.
It was.
But all of us can and should be doing that, which is what I think Seth's core message is. Because when you create something and you put your care into it, you facilitate something, it gives you a different perspective on it, and it's another way of bringing value to the world.
You're right. Yeah, I agree.
This in itself is so helpful. I had connected with someone else on the workshop that I had a chat with today too, and it's just so helpful to meet people from all different industries that have sort of a common mindset. Obviously, all of us are motivated in some way or another.
Well, we have 21 people in the Lion group, and sadly, we've had 4 people show up today. So if each of you could just go into that thread and say, hey, you know what, I got a lot out of the workshop, maybe just post the court meeting, just maybe post your 5, 10, whatever takeaways from the meeting, that will hopefully encourage the others. As Seth says, find the others to join next week,
It seemed like everyone was very engaged last week. Obviously, I missed it because I came in at the very end, but it seemed like you had a great group and good conversation.
So the way I've solved that is I've created a calendar invitation, so it shows up in your calendar at the right time for you. One thing that I do want to change, by the way, is I want to change the Zoom link. So just giving you a heads up, I'm going to create a unique link for each week, just for security, so no one else can hack into the workshop, into the meeting. So the link will be inside the meeting invitation in your calendar for each week. So you need to click on that.
You probably put a password on it too.
I'm trying to figure my way around that, actually, trying to figure out how Zoom works, because I have my own membership site and I have a meeting thing for that as well. So,
I've been using Zoom a lot. So if you have any questions.
I do have questions. I would love to know how to create, my first question is, can I change my basic meeting address
from week to week, you mean?
Well, no, also my personal.
I think for having like a unique one, you need to have a paid membership, like a paid version. You do have a paid one?
Yeah.
So I think from there you can.
Okay.
I don't.
Anyway, look, we're out of time, so I should respect that. And why don't we meet up again same time next week?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ash.
So
nice to meet all of you. Nice to talk to you again.
Do you want me to put this on this meeting on Dropbox or on YouTube as an unlisted video, so no one else can access it unless they have the link. Which do you
I
prefer?
think we can do YouTube. Dropbox will just eat a lot of, from
Yeah, it
meeting
will.
to
And
meeting,
you will
it
need to
will-
download
yes.
it and all
Yeah,
that.
a
Yeah,
lot
that
of
way you
people,
can
yeah.
tell the rest of the group if they want to listen to it, that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll upload it as an unlisted, a private video on my YouTube channel, and
Okay.
I'll send you guys the link, and then you can click on it and watch it there.
Perfect.
Sorry,
Thank you so
John,
much.
you were going to say something?
I just I'm very appreciative of.
Oh,
of
you're most
the-
welcome.
Yeah.
You're most welcome. If you find any of the content that I've shared with you useful, I'd be very grateful if you shared it with somebody else who you think will benefit, because I want to try and make the change in the world that all of us are seeking to make.
Yeah. Do you have a few more minutes? Does anybody do we have more time, or does
I have all the time in the world. I just want to respect everybody else's time.
I can stay on for about 10 more.
Yeah, I can too.
So Ash, some questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
Let's say John wants to pay you, or let's say John wants to do this strategically, and John says, hey, what would be an appropriate way? We've got some 100 or 50, or maybe I don't know how many numbers are on the current Freelancers work. It seems like there's a lot of coaches on Freelancers Workshop. And, what's the business model by which you and I, for 3 months' time, what would you charge me? What would Ash charge me for 3 months' time and so many hours per month or so many hours per week to engage with you similar to this, so that you're fairly compensated and I get my money's worth? Give me the 2-minute version of that.
$600 a month, 2 45-minute calls a month.
Okay.
You also have access to my membership program, which is $99 a month, soon to go up. The plan is to increase it to $349 a month, partly through this workshop. I realize I should be charging more. But if you join as a founding member right now, you get grandfathered in at $99 a month. If you like, I can show you inside the membership program, but it feels a little bit too self-promotional.
No, it's okay. I think just the conversation about your business model and how it works is valuable. So thank you.
So there's the free content. The business model is you've got the free content, the podcast, the YouTube channel, the email autoresponder sequences, all that stuff. Value. It's trying to give value in as targeted a way as possible. And then at some point, they will say, okay, I've been what Google called the 0 moments of truth. It used to be you needed 3 ZMOTs before you had a stranger turn into a customer. That was 15 years ago. Now it's something like 25 or whatever. So, value in advanced content for enough time till people are familiar with your brand, they trust it, they've got results from the free content. Then they say, I'd like to work with this guy. They go to getmetodone.com, which is the URL for my membership program. That's the landing page. And there you see some testimonials. I offer 1 hour face-to-face time free if you sign up for the $99 a month program. So it's a one-off onboarding call. But if you do it in a face-to-face call, I give away 2 hours. And that's valued at $500 per hour. And then inside the membership program, they get a private discussion thread. They get access to the private Facebook group where the other members are there. It's a small group. It's only about 30 members. So we have conversations there all the time. We have 2 mastermind calls a month. One is on the first Tuesday of the month in the morning at 11 a.m. for our American members. We have quite a few Americans. And the other is at 8 p.m. in the evening for our English and Australian members. Australians can attend both, I suppose. Private discussion thread with direct access to me. What else?
So this gives us a good sense of, even for Natasha's sake or for Fiona's sake, it gives us a good sense if we were trying to scale something in our own expertise area.
Yeah, absolutely. A membership program is by far, in my experience, the best thing you can do. Let me just quickly show you. Also in terms of pricing, so this is what the new pricing is going to look like. But to give you an idea as to what is on offer, currently, if you joined as a founding member, you get what is called the Pro plan, right? You get the membership portal, the course, mastermind calls, tech tips, keynote presentations. This is like I presented at Digital Marketer, that's all included. Let me start again, sorry. With the light version and the new version, you'll just get the portal. With the plus version for $2.99 US a month, you'll get the Facebook group and the sprints. So these productive sprints we have approximately twice a week, but not every single week, twice a week. Most Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Sydney time. We do 3 Pomodoro sprints back to back with 5-minute breaks in between. The idea is to take stuff off your plate, not add more to it. So you pick whatever task you want to work on, but you sprint for 25 minutes at a time. Seth has a similar setup. And at the end of that 25-minute sprint, you say to the group, okay, I give myself a 6 or a 5 or a 7 out of 10 for my focus level. It's self-evaluation for self-awareness. And then I say, next sprint, I'm going to sprint on my newsletter or on having a power nap. It can be anything. So that will be included in the plus plan. And then the pro plan will have early access to expert interviews like the one with Seth Godin is going to be published as episode 200, but it's sitting inside the membership as early access interview, or the Dean Jackson one is there now as well. Access to the private discussion thread and the 2 one-hour onboarding calls. So that's going to be the $349. And the reason these two are so closely priced is because I want people to pick this, because I think this is the best value for money. So that's basically the offer. And you could create something similar to this in your membership. What's very effective about a membership is, and I'm going to interview somebody who wrote a book called The Membership Economy. She's just written another book called The Forever Transaction. Brilliant woman, Robbie Kelman Baxter. And she just sent me a message today saying she'd like to come back. The idea is we're seeing large corporates moving towards the membership model. Apple, lots of companies. People are more open these days to pay for access rather than ownership. So, Apple began this revolution a long time ago with iTunes, with Apple Music, I should say. But even iTunes, the 99-cent song was a version of that, in my opinion. So you don't want to own the CD or the DVD or the records, like some people want to own them, the old school people, but most people are happy to just own access. So Netflix, the Netflix effect, whatever you want to call it, binge eat for $10 all you can eat or whatever it is. And people then feel that, okay, you know what, I'm paying a monthly fee for this. I have access to this anytime I want. So that's the value. Now, if I don't use it, that's my decision. Yeah. But it's normally lower price. So I'm able to give a lot more value because not everyone's going to use the membership to the same extent at the same time. It's like a gym membership.
Yep. Got it.
But I can front load a lot of value and I can really help people individually in the private discussion thread because not everyone uses it at the same time.
Right.
Do you use Kajabi for that? What tool do you use?
No, I have considered it, but I've got a development team that we use as a different tech stack.
Do you have your own? Oh, okay.
I have my own development team.
Oh, that's good.
The guy I just interviewed, actually, 3-part series on business continuity planning in a crisis. His name is Carl Taylor, and he's the guy who owns the company that does the development for me. It's called the Automation Agency, and they built my membership site. So they use WordPress, Active Member 360, Active Campaign, LearnDash, and Snap Orbital. Snap Orbital is what's used for the private discussion thread. And the only reason we're using LearnDash, it's not used for the learning management system capabilities. It's the only reason we've got LearnDash is because Snap Orbital doesn't talk directly to WordPress, so LearnDash is the intermediary. LearnDash is a learning management system, but we're not using that for our membership permissions. We're using Active Member 360.
Okay. I was just curious because I hear Kajabi so often.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about it, and Amy's a big fan of Kajabi.
Yeah.
But Kajabi has a recurring fee, which
and
they're
a membership themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not as customizable as this. These people do exactly what I want, how I want it, and when I want it.
That's good.
So I have a very good deal with them. and they're very good. I rave about Carl's team in my podcast episodes. Does that answer your question, John?
Yeah, it does.
Great.
It's,
I'm
thank
gonna have
you.
to jump off, you guys. Thank you. It's so nice talking to all of you. And
Let's wrap it up.
On the workshop.
Talk to you next week. Can you guys make it next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yep, I'm gonna. I have to kind of catch up a little bit with the course too. I don't feel like I haven't really
same here.
like 2 lessons back right now, but
Same here.
I'm just curious. Do you guys do like your exercise and then separately go back and answer other people's, or do you just do it all in one session?
I try and get mine done first, because if I don't do mine, I just don't get it done at all.
Yeah.
And if I have time, I answer other people's.
Uh-huh.
But I'm noticing as you go further into the thing, people are falling more and more behind. So there's not as much to answer, which is good.
Yeah.
I look for inspiration.
Yeah, that's true, because that was my biggest mistake in the marketing seminar, and I said that's not going to happen now. I would be just jumping from one thing to another, and it's actually quite time consuming.
Yeah,
I have to
is.
admit, you can get really carried away. So I was falling behind there, and I was like, oh my God, I keep answering questions, and because I was so interested in like, oh, what other people are saying you're doing or something.
Yeah, then you go down a rabbit hole of, oh, let me look at their website, or oh, cool, what book are they recommending?
Exactly.
Yeah. How about you, John?
And everybody's so interesting. Oh my God. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. I take inspiration, and then I catch myself, hopefully, and I get back to focusing on the things that I need to get out of the course.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, I'm sure we're learning something by even when we get distracted by that stuff. I mean, at first I was completely overwhelmed by it. And then my first post was like, crap, I don't know how to focus. But,
well, if you guys have any questions or you're stuck with anything, if you think I can help, just hit me up, email me, or just
thank you
private.
so much.
Wonderful. Bye,
You're
everyone.
welcome. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you guys too.
Bye.